Greetings, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to Connect Africa. So, we are here at this hour today to analyze some an important things that happened globally, which is attempt of assassination at former president of U.S. Donald Trump, and again running for office. Kwame, welcome and thank you again, of course, to for you to be here in such a short notice and to give us, more of the background of the story and what we should.
Thank you very much, Mahlet, and thank you everyone who's watching us from across the globe. It is indeed very important that we have a look at what is happening in the United States,
Mhm.
because whether you like it or not, we have our people there, and also it affects us as a continent, as a people, because we understand the power of the United States currently. So whatever happens there, we have to pay close attention to it. So it is important that we come and look at it, and how does Africa fit in. Of course, that is our major interest. And it is at this point that I want to thank everyone who's supporting the channel, supporting Connect Africa. Continue doing that, and continue going with us on this journey of conscientization of our people across the world, across the continent, and across the world. This is what we are fighting for. We are fighting for a better African continent and better, lives for our people across the world. So I want to thank you very much, Mallet, as we continue to change this narrative, as we continue to
Yeah.
push the narrative. Thank you so much.
Thank you indeed, Kwame. It's a teamwork. Yeah, you know it better than me. But yeah, let's dive into it. So this happened less than 20, it's not 24 hours yet since it happened. Um, is it something like, of course, tell us as how was it look like, how it was handled, and now they came up with identifying the person who attempted to assassinate uh, Donald Trump. Why should we believe that this is one of those stories that America orchestrated to divert our attention?
So I think that it's important to understand at the point at to what these events are occurring currently. Let us look at how the events, of course, unfolded. President Trump was in Philadelphia carrying out his election campaigns. As we know, the US elections are heating up. There have been the two candidates, two main candidates. Of course, we know that there's other candidates, but as we know, the neoliberal system, it always puts forward two political parties to be at each other's throats. So currently, we know that the major candidates, even though there's other candidates in the United States, Biden and Trump, both on the side of the Republicans and then the Democrats. So these are the people who are at each other's throats. So they had a campaign debate, a few weeks ago, which we came here and analyzed, to which Trump looks like he came out strong, and Trump has been winning. Whether they like him or not, on the side of the Democrats. So it was a continuation of those campaigns that are going on. That Trump was in Philadelphia to try to ramp up his campaign activities as we are leading to the elections, which will happen in November for the United States, and then they will elect the president. Many people, of course, have been saying that Trump will win the election due to the problems President Biden has been facing due to his age, and his cognitive abilities have been declining. Somehow he cannot remember things. So all these things have been happening. So it is on the back of this, that Trump has been increasing his effort, and of course his attack also on Biden because of his weaknesses and underperformance during the debate and all that. So he was in, Philadelphia carrying out his campaigns, and then as he was on the, on the platform, on the pulpit, trying to explain to the people his policies, that's when shots, were fired, and it was shown that he first touched his ear to see what was happening, and then of course the sound of shots was heard, and then he fell down for cover. He squatted down for cover, and the Secret Service, which is the United States sort of like presidential guard unit or the diplomatic guard unit, which guards the diplomats, former presidents, and then existing presidents, current presidents who are, who are in the White House. So the presidential guard came in, which is the Secret Service of the United States, came in to form a protective ring around him to protect him from further shots. But they say one person died there, there and then, because of those shots the way they were running around, which were fired, and Trump survived them. The Secret Service, normally they are around the place. They are on the roof. There was a Secret Service on top of the roof, one of the building which is close to Trump, where Trump was speaking from, and they spotted the shooter, and they fired back, and they were able to get the person who shot President Trump. So they rushed President Trump off from the pulpit where he was speaking from, and rushed him into the vehicle and sped off. But what they are saying is that he did not sustain serious injuries, and even himself, he has said that he's coming back on on the campaign trip. He's coming back on the campaign trail to continue with his campaigns. President Biden, of course, when he heard it, also immediately came out and made comments on what is happening, and he said that this is unacceptable. The culture of violence is unacceptable in the United States, and that is why he has been saying that he is the one to unite the country. Of course, everyone now is struggling. At this point, both of the candidates, they want to capitalize on this. For Trump, on his side, he would get for Trump on his side, he would get this sort. I use it as a chance to get the sympathy vote. Everyone would be sympathetic to President Trump, but Biden also wants to fight back so that Trump cannot get the sympathy vote. So Biden has been coming out to say he has been speaking to Trump. I think he made a call to Trump and spoke to him, and then he's speaking to the Federal, Bureau of Investigation, which is the FBI, to be able also to brief him. He wants them to brief him about what is the cause of this and that, and therefore they don't condone the violence that is going on. And of course, this is a chance for him to distance himself, because the Trump supporters themselves may want to look at it like it is Biden who is attacking Trump, or is the Democrats who are attacking Trump. Yeah, so I think that it is also an opportunity for President Biden, to distance the Democrats and and his party from those activities, as we have seen in the past. That Trump, they have been at the Democrats have been attacking him, at least using the court system in the United States, and of course Trump also has been looking at it that way, that the Democrats are attacking him by using the court system in the United States. He has been through, the court on numerous times. So you can see that this event could, push the elections and the sentiments of the people in Trump's favor. So the Democrats now are in huge trouble, that now they have to fight almost on two fronts. The fact that they have to fight to offset the Biden's shortcomings, and due to his cognitive abilities. And now this is another event which has happened. So it looks like now Biden has a lot of things to deal with currently. So, as a background, that is what is happening. We saw President Obama also came out to make comments on this, that he doesn't condone the culture of violence within the United States. So that is what is going on in the country.
Interesting. Thank you, Kwame, for that. So this, this doesn't actually play well for the Democrats. On one hand, they're fighting for them to stay for the second term. On the other hand, also now this gun violence is getting more and more, and even attacking the other presidential candidates. So that doesn't really play well either side. For Democrat, it's a bad thing. It's a disadvantage. You are saying, right?
It is absolutely, it is a disadvantage because remember they have been almost like sort of persecuting President Trump in courts, putting him here and there to try to reduce his chances. And now it looks like now the ball has turned due to Biden's poor performance recently at the debate with Trump, and then he had a press conference during the NATO also where he did not perform very well. He had an interview also. I think it was with the I don't know which was ABC News or something. He had with one of the major media platforms in the United States an interview which did not turn out well. So his performance has not been very good, and many have been even saying, actually, even within the Democratic Party itself, they have been calling for his, giving. He should, resign in and give another person a chance because he will not be able to compete with Trump. And of course, he has been saying that he's the one who has the ability to beat Trump in this kind of election. If they substitute him and put a person like Kamala Harris, she will not be able to, to take on Trump to win against Trump. So they are really in a very difficult situation currently. So with this, also, it would boost this event could boost Trump's lead even further and put a huge gap between Trump and Biden. And they are really fighting very hard. Biden has come out to give almost back-to-back press conferences to try to address this situation, but you can see definitely that he's trying to use it just to calm down the whole situation and stay on top of it to show that he's on top of the situation, but to slow down the people's sentiments towards being sympathetic with Trump and giving him that lead, because we have only a few months remaining, about 3 months which are remaining, to the elections. So you can see that he has to fight as much as he can, to stay on top of the situation.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, I don't know. Some part of me just bugs me. How come that they left that area? It's from the top of the roof, right? That the man was shooting. How it was not, checked by the security with
Yeah,
all
so
these things.
everyone has been speaking about it. That how did the man get in? Because they have security systems, they have secret service, the United States Secret Service, which is supposed to protect the president, and then of course check everyone who gets into the venue where the speeches are going to be happening. Maybe there was some sort of lapse in the security, so no one knows how the guy got in with the gun, and then he went to the roof of to the top of the roof of the
Mm.
building where he started shooting the president from. So it's possible that there was some sort of lapse within the security system in the area, that they did not do a very good job.
Okay, then, yeah. Well, the good thing is in America, the stories will come out later whether this was really a real event or not. uh, But let's move on and talk about, the culture of this violence or gun in the US. Now they have identified this man, and they are even bringing witnesses talking about this child was in school kind of alienated, that he was bullied almost every day. So they're gonna relate every time a white man shoot, it's they're psychopaths, and a black man shoot, it's terrorism or any other than
Yeah, yeah. So
Caucasian person.
yeah, so I
So
think
tell us this,
yeah,
reflect on this one.
yeah. So I think that the United States as a country itself has this culture of guns everywhere. Everyone has what they call right. I think I don't know which amendment is it, the first amendment or second amendment. I don't know which it is. Maybe if we have one of our viewers here, he can tell us. I don't know whether it is the second amendment rights whereby people have a right to move around with guns. Anyone can just register a gun and have it. So you find that the whole country has guns. Everyone has guns in their houses, and they don't just have simple guns for just simple self defense, but they do have really big guns like M16s, assault rifles. People have them in houses as if they are going to war. So this culture, we see it even in places like Chicago, where even in the African American communities, people go over, drive-by shootings and children are dying. Children are dying. Many innocent people are dying, through these drive-by shootings. So for this, you can say that it is just a culture in the United States that guns can just be bought like off shelf, popcorn, how you can go and buy bread, in shops, which is really, unfortunate. And I think that this creates a culture of chaos, a chaotic culture. And then sort of like, you are sitting on a time bomb. So I think that this kind of culture has to be reined in. And of course, the Democrats on the other side, they have tried, but the Republicans actually, they are the ones who are very strong on the ownership of guns. They want everyone to have their own guns. They want even these guns to be in schools because they have been experiencing these shootouts in schools by some children. So they want teachers to have to have guns in school. So even children, very small children, can have guns. When we talk about the drive-by shootings and then the school shootings in school. So it has been really difficult that to deal with this problem, you really need a very strong government to try to rein in into these problems. But it is difficult. It's very difficult because of their constitution and how they made it. So in real terms, you can see that these problems, they have to deal with them by themselves as a government, but then they created these problems for themselves, depending on their constitution how it is.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah. It's somebody. I was reading a comment saying, "What do you mean whether it's a real event or not? Somebody was shot. The bullet missing his head, brain by less and da da da." Yeah. Also, we have seen people get killed in 9/11, but look at the reports that are coming out from CIA itself. And yeah, why not? It's always good to give it the benefit of the doubt. Kwame, there's an interesting observation by Ray Dalio. Perhaps you want to reflect on that one.
Yes, I think okay.
Uh, do we have what? Just a second. Let me. I will share it.
Okay, is it coming?
There were three things that are happening now that didn't happen in my lifetime before and that I needed to study. And that was an enormous amount of creation of debt and the monetization of that in a financial piece. The second is the internal conflict, populism of the right and the left, and with wealth gaps and so on, that I like to measure things, that you'd have to go back to 1900 to see those degrees of conflict, which I think are a threat to our system and a democracy and could produce a civil war type of situation. Right. And third, the rise of a great power to challenge an existing great power in the existing world order. Now, those three things in their degrees individually, but also collectively, last time they happened was 1930 to 45 period. And so what I needed to do was to understand those patterns and those things.
So for Ray Dalio, why it is very important, his observations is that he's been saying that there is three forces right now that are playing, and of course he has kept revising that and added a little bit, maybe four, with environmental change and the pandemic and all this. But there's three major forces which he said that are happening. And of course, ourselves too, we have been speaking about the changes in the world. And in fact, today, everyone recognizes that the world is not the same as it was 20 years ago, that there's a lot of change that has happened. And for him, he says that the debt in the United States is exorbitant, is too much, and creates problems within the United States. And I will speak to that. That debt, it creates internal problems for the United States, a lot of pressures within the country itself. And number two, he has spoken about the income inequality within. Now, this income inequality, it creates also a friction between the haves and the have-nots. Those ones who have, they have it, like the Bill Gates and the Elon Musks, and others, the Jeff Bezos, they have a lot of money, and you have, other people who are feeling dissatisfied. Now, this creates a conflict between the two. There's friction. There arises a lot of friction between the two groups. And this friction is manifested in the two ruling groups, which, of course, all of them claim to want to address these problems, which affect the people. And for us, of course, externally on the international stage, and especially for us in the countries which they called the low income countries, or the underdeveloped countries, or the shithole countries, whatever it is, how Trump calls it. Also, it has an effect on us, because when these problems increase, the pressure also increases on us in our countries. And of course, I'll elaborate on that as we go on. Now, number three, he also observes the rise of, a new power, the rise of a new power to challenge the existing power, which is the rise of China. So he said that these forces are happening right now. And he started calling this out starting in 2021 when he published his book, Principles of Understanding How to Deal with the Changing World Order. I think that is the book which is called, let me see, Principles of Dealing with the Changing World Order. Of dealing with the changing world order. Principles, yes. Yeah, that's the book. The book is called The Changing World Order, Principles for Dealing with the Changing World Order. That is the book. So, why nations succeed and fail. So he published that book in 2021. And that is where he wrote extensively on these events that are happening. So from our observation, we can say that he has really some remarkable, points in what is happening, and you can clearly relate it to what is happening today with this. And he, of course, he even mentioned about a civil war. It's possible that this could cause even a civil war, because look, the Democrats have been attacking Trump, from right and left. You remember that when he won the election, they were peddling lies that Trump, was working with the Russians. But investigations came out, and they showed that Trump was never working with the Russians. But Hillary Clinton, was spreading these lies. All the Democrats, they were spreading these lies that Trump was working with the Russians, and it's the Russians who helped him to win the elections. So they never concede the fact that they have been on the wrong side. All right, they never accepted the fact that they have been on the wrong side, and they continue to attack Trump even where he is right. Now, I'm not saying that Trump is right in everything that he says. Of course, there is a lot of things he exaggerates, but who can say that the Democrats themselves are not really exaggerating things? And of course, starting with the lies which were spread about Trump, that Trump was colluding with the Russians. It was an absolute lie, which came out even in the, in the investigations by the courts, even by the judges who said that there was no investigation. There is no evidence to show that Trump colluded with the Russians, and yet this is what the Democrats were peddling, on him. So this has created a culture of friction within the country. So we understand that Biden, of course, is coming out with back-to-back press conferences and speaking about what is happening, especially this issue which happened with Trump. But they have already created an environment of division, because what Biden right now is trying to achieve is two things at the same time. He's trying to calm down, to slow down the sympathy, the sympathetic sentiments that people may have towards Trump, and of course, give him the elections, give him the ability to win the elections. And then on the other hand, he's trying to stay on top of the fact that he has to unify the country so that it would not go through a civil war whereby the people will feel like, the Democrats are attacking Trump, and therefore also we need to arm ourselves and respond. And this is the civil war which Red Dalio is talking about, that the friction, between these two groups, okay, it could cause a civil war within the country. So Biden wants to stay on top of that. He has to unify. But then this is a contradiction in itself, because they have already divided the country, with their rhetoric. You have the Democrats on the other side. You look at people like Hillary Clinton when she was carrying out her, campaigns during the time when she was contesting, with Trump. She was calling the other side deplorables. This is a bunch of deplorables. That anyone who voted for Trump is a deplorable. So, which means they are disgusting. So you can see that they are sowing divisions within the country. Okay. At the same time, Biden wants to unify the country so that there would not be some sort of civil. He wants to calm down the tensions. So this is in itself is a contradiction. Now, these contradictions, of course, for us on the international stage, they are for us to watch, because of course it could be an advantage for us whenever these contradictions increase. But what we have also noticed is that whenever these contradictions increase within the United States, they try to transfer those contradictions on the international stage by engaging aggressively on the international stage in some scheme, as we have seen at the just ended NATO summit, the 75th NATO summit, which happened in Washington, that they transfer these contradictions to the international stage. They want to delay the pressure, okay, the pressure which is building up inside. They want to delay it by going to the international stage and engaging in some scheme. Or we are fighting a war in Ukraine, we are fighting against evil, we are fighting against China, okay. They create some sort of boogeyman on the international stage so that they can distract their people at home and delay so that they can delay the problems which are happening at home. Like we see the homelessness in California, which is happening in Los Angeles. So all these are the problems, these are the symptoms of the problems that are happening, all right, in the United States. So they would want to delay that. They would want to delay that by coming on the international stage and creating some sort of boogeyman. You see that NATO, the rhetoric at NATO, which was held in Washington, so was that Russia is the problem. Russia is the big devil, right? North Korea is the big devil. But these countries have not said anything to the United States. China is the one who's enabling the war in Ukraine. So they are trying by all means to create some sort of boogeyman to distract, their populations, to distract their populations from the problems which are happening at home, instead of solving the homelessness problems and the income inequality problems, income gap which is increasing, which of course Red Dalio also is talking about the increased income gap. Instead of solving those problems which are escalating, they want to transfer it. And of course, in transferring those problems, of course, they in the short time they make some achievements. For example, if they go out and attack certain countries, they are able to harvest the wealth from those countries and take it back to the United States. Like for example, when we see what happened, in Iraq or Libya, all these countries, their economies were harvested. And now what they are trying to do is that they want to harvest the wealth that has grown in all these, shithole countries, which they call shithole countries, our countries, of course. Like in Africa, we have had a lot of growth which has been happening for the last 20 years. They want to do the harvesting of that. That is why we are seeing the assault of the IMF on the African continent. It has re-emerged, strongly. And of course, we see these people are resisting them in Kenya. And of course, they want to harvest also China, which is not going to be easy. All right. So that they can delay the structure problems which are at home. So instead of addressing the structure problems at home, they instead delay them. And of course, some of our ancestors recognized these things. People like Nkrumah extensively wrote about these problems. When he was talking about the class struggle in Africa, he's talking about neocolonialism, the last stage of imperialism. He's saying that these people, they should try to address the structural problems within their society instead of always delaying them and distracting their people. Because you have huge numbers of people are dissatisfied within the system due to a lot of wealth going to the top 1%. All right. It's only about, I think, 10% of the people in the United States, they own the stock market, for example. All right. All the 90%, they don't own anything, and they are living paycheck to paycheck. So this creates, huge problems, which they constantly want to postpone instead of attending to them and say, let us redistribute the wealth. Let us find a way of redistributing this, redistributing, this wealth, which we have, generated over the years as a country, as we have been around. So it means that we are really living in very difficult times, which are changing. But it also means that these times we are living in, they are opportunities. There is great opportunities also for other countries which have been reeling under the boot of neocolonialism.
Thank you, Kwame. So, as we always do, we have to combine this or no, bring it and reflect it on ourselves, meaning on Africa. So, how does this relate to Africa, and what is the way forward? How should we view it? From what angle to give it that African perspective?
Yeah, so for Africa, I think that for the times, partially, we can say that Africa has recognized its position, but we need to do more. There's a lot we have to do as Africans, because once the contradictions within these imperialistic countries, as we have seen in France, the left has come on top. We have seen, in Germany, things escalating. In all of Europe now, there's a lot of dissatisfaction, on that side. So it shows that we may have a gap. We see Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso. So these are all the recognitions that we have to do something new, that the times have changed. And these countries which have been colonizing us and putting all the pressure on us, or whatever it is, neo-colonizing and taking our resources, they are not as strong as before. All right. These countries, the colonial countries, they are not as strong as they were during slavery. They are not as strong as they were during colonialism. The United States now doesn't have the same luxury it had, after 1945, that it would outright come and attack you militarily. Now it has to justify that attack. So I think that for the African continent, it is important, especially for the new generation, to recognize that if there is any time which we have had that is opportune for us to take matters into our own hands and challenge the current representatives of that neo-colonial system which was built by the United States, after World War II. I think that time is now. It is that time now that we have an opportunity to assert ourselves as the new generation that is supposed to take on the leadership of the continent. Because if you look around our continent, you can see that majority of the heads of state are representatives of this neo-colonial system, and which neo-colonial system is just there to suck out the blood from our
Yeah.
countries and impoverish our people, as we have seen that the people in Kenya are resisting, in Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, they kicked out to the United States now, the United States military. So all these, of course, recently in 2021, the United States military was kicked out of Afghanistan. So it shows you that the country is not the same, all right? Is not the same, okay? So, but what they are trying to do, again, they are trying to find a means of distracting their people so that they will not deal with the problems at home. Because everyone across the world now is trying to take care of themselves and build their own economies. And they're trying to resist the exploitation, as you were seeing Niger, a few weeks ago, closed off the uranium mines and took back the uranium mines from the Canadian companies and French companies. So military is kicked out of the country. French military kicked out of the country. Germany militaries, all these NATO countries which had militaries in Mali were kicked out of the country. So it shows you that these countries, they are not what they were before. And so we have a gap, we have a chance. So we have to use that chance as African people, to fight back also so that we can get full independence. We can get real independence because it looks like right now we have independence, but it is partial. All right. We did not get full independence because that independence was compromised in 1966 with the overthrow of Kwame Nkrumah. Because during the 1960s, when we got our independence, we were consolidating it. We were in the process of consolidating that independence. And Kwame Nkrumah was the one who was leading that process of consolidating Africa's independence. Now, what later came is that when he was overthrown, our independence was compromised, that they took over. The United States now took over and started directing the direction of our countries, especially economically, and of course, even politically, that it comes in and overthrows and removes whoever it wants. But now, when the United States is facing these problems. And of course, when we talk about even removing presidents, we saw this. It attempted to remove, Prime Minister Abiy recently, with the Tigray War, which happened there. The United States attempted to remove, the Prime Minister Abiy from Ethiopia. So you can see that this behavior went on. But whenever it has pressures at home and it has problems, then we have relief. We can have relief. Okay, and of course it's being challenged by China. We have relief and we have a chance so that we can remove all these puppets at home on the African continent. So I believe that we have a good shot at putting a lot of pressure. We need to build up also our pressure at home here so that we can remove all the United States and European puppets who are on the country, especially in countries, ECOWAS and whatever, East African Community, everywhere on the continent where they are puppets. I think we need to build a strong movement all across the African continent so that we can push the puppets out and get real independence as a people.
Thank you very much, Kwame, for that, really. And I'm sure the audience has enjoyed it as well. A lot of engagements over here also. But I think we scheduled it earlier and we couldn't do it. And now we are here. It's late, so I think we just have to end it here. I don't think I have seen any questions and important things that I should bring uh, here. Yeah. Somebody was just, Biden want to calm down the tension when you said he's giving press briefings back to back. I think that's where he commented he should step aside and not run. Well, I really don't know why they are letting that man get embarrassed every day. Ay, ay, ay. Okay. Thank you, Kwame. And thank you everyone for being here. Please go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done that so far. Hit that notification bell so that you will be notified for any new uploaded video or live streamings that are upcoming. If you find it informative, which I believe you do every time we come here, so share the video with others and give it thumbs up, please. And go ahead and you can donate, of course, to our PayPal account. It's on in the description section. And thank you all for you have been donating. It's really, we are so grateful for that. We appreciate, we don't take it for granted, but your comments, your suggestions, your question, everything is valuable for us. So continue to do so, and we will see you here again tomorrow at the same time, which is mostly 7 p.m. Ghana time, 9 p.m. Central European time, 3 p.m. Eastern time. So that's what it will be. It's a ciao from me, and thank you, Kwame, once again. Thank you so much. Yeah.